Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Data Dispatch. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Let's talk about what happened in the short-end trading session today. Listen to this quick, important clip here because it's incredibly bullish on Palantir.
Group Principal Keith Fitzgerald. Keith, I want to start with the Palantir situation. This is amazing to me. Like it's almost like the Carvana story in the sense that everyone hated Carvana. It was a meme stock that was going out of business. It was going down to 2, then 0. Now everyone on Wall Street's got to buy it. And same thing with Palantir. Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. So where does the stock go from here?
Well, I got to tell you, Charles, one of the things you learn early on in this business, if you're going to have any kind of longevity at all, is if you get on a winning horse, you ride it all the way to the end of the race. Real CEO, real products, real consumers can't get enough, real margins. It's expanding like crazy. I think it goes to $100 originally 3 to 5 years from now, but maybe this time next year or sooner.
Gerald Group.
Wow, that's a pretty bullish price target coming out of the gutter right there, saying $100 at this time next year or even earlier. And hey, I don't think that's completely out of the question. And the reason why is because we're going to be getting into those details soon, is the horse that basically Palantir is riding right now. And what we see here is how far is this momentum going to go? We're going to be talking about all the updates you need to know, especially with what's been happening in terms of the broader market closing in the green at the end of the month here, what we're anticipating for December. So if you're a new or returning viewer, hit that like button and subscribe for daily videos. And of course, not a financial advisor, collecting all the data and dispatching it to you. Now, what we saw in that clip was talking about Palantir and, talking about why getting off of this horse in the middle of a race. And what they're talking about is Palantir is basically on this momentum. We've seen it skyrocket recently with a lot of institutional investment that has been pouring in, even up another nearly 2%. In just the short trading session today. And Palantir right now at $67 is $70 going to be here in the near future if we don't see any profit taking cascades. Now, what we are seeing, and we'll analyze here in just a few moments, are some big key players that are actually exiting their position out of Palantir or slashing a big amount of their stake and getting into more by diversified portfolio. We'll be talking about that diversified portfolio here or an ETF here in just a few moments. But it makes sense because, Palantir has been on this incredible run, right? So we're going to see some profit taking across the board. What's really been interesting and always, bullish on the fundamentals behind Palantir here on Data Dispatch. But regardless of that, the valuation is sky high. And we've been seeing that completely disconnected from where the stock price is right now. And the question is, when is the race or when are we going to see the correction happen? One thing that is really cool about Palantir, I think, is a lot of people are going to be sitting on the sidelines waiting for that to happen. The bullishness behind Palantir is kind of unprecedented. I don't know if we can put a gauge behind it. So the fact that Palantir comes down back to the 40s or the kind of average price targets we've seen from the big Wall Street analysts at like $38, a lot of people could be at that position ready to buy as long as there's no big swings or switches with the fundamentals behind Palantir. Now, if you look here, what we're talking about is a lot of billionaires are actually coming out of Palantir stock right now. One of the big ones, and we have to acknowledge, Palantir is up 285% year to date. One of the big ones here is Ken Griffin, Citadel Advisors. They sold 5.1 million shares of Palantir, slashing its stake by 91%. Now, talking about Ken Griffin and with Citadel right here, they held that 5.6 million shares. They actually put this hedge in here, and they've been into Palantir since I believe 2021 right here. So with them coming out here in this filing, right here with the details that they sold a majority of their stake, considering that they've been in since 2021, profit taking from them, that is not necessarily something that is to be of a big surprise for me. Right here, back in Q1 of 2021. So they've been a Palantir bull for a long time, and reducing their stake is not a bad thing. That's not something we're going to continue to see that even when Palantir is at these all-time highs. You also see here Israel Engler's Millennium Management. They sold 4.4 million shares, cutting a stake by 90%. The thing that they're putting their money into, the whole kind of point of this article here, is a lot of them are actually transitioning their shares to Vanguard Information Technology ETF. Citadel particularly right here, increased its position by over 3,000% for Vanguard Information Technology ETF, this VIT. So we're going to be talking about what is this ETF. And Palantir really has been a rewarding investment for these major, hedge fund and major fund managers. Wall Street, of course, worried about the valuation. Kind of what we're talking about right here, disconnected. But the question is, they're just taking risk management. That's a lot of money to be playing around with. So with the median price target right now of $38 per share on Wall Street, they're expecting a decent downside. Will that happen? Who knows? We're not seeing that happen right now, specifically anytime soon, but it could happen at any moment. That's where the risk for downside potential is decently high right now, in my own personal opinion. Now, what you see here with the S&P 500, we know technology has been a great rewarder for this specific index right here. But what the Vanguard Information Technology ETF, it basically provides exposure to artificial intelligence, which is cool, without having to try to pick the individual stocks. And they track the performance of 314 technology companies that fall into categories such as chip makers, semiconductors, cloud services, software vendors, and hardwares and equipment manufacturers. All these big tech companies that are trying to get working with AI, developing AI, and trying to fit it into their platform. Some of the biggest holdings here are like Apple, NVIDIA, Microsoft, Broadcom, Salesforce. So some of the big key players that are working to help bring the evolutionary side of AI to our society. Like you've seen Apple here getting into AI, a lot of these different companies, of course, NVIDIA, we know doing very well. So it is an interesting ETF to look at. I will probably look at them more. I haven't given them much attention, but looking at their track record has done fairly well. I'll probably look more into what other stocks are into this ETF, what's their expense ratio, and I can always give an update for you guys. So if you want to see more information on that Vanguard Information Technology ETF, just let me know. Or if you're invested into it, have you seen good results? Do you like the experience with it? Do you like how it's managed? And it would be great to hear from you guys down in the comments, people that do have experience. Looking at this right here, talking about this, Palantir, just looking at it in terms of valuation, here's just something to kind of bring a picture to it in terms of an actual quantitative graph from all the other stocks, looking at their valuation, how Palantir sits right here. So very good stock, but very expensive right now, especially personally for me. Now, what we do see in the short term, Dow Jones actually jumping 200 points to record in the short session, S&P 500 becoming the best month of 2024. Now, some of the upward momentum here is coming from chip stocks, which actually popped after Bloomberg had reported that the current administration was considering additional barriers on the sale of semiconductor equipment that actually to China was not as strong as previously expected. This is bullish for them. Lam Research here you see rallied more than 3%. NVIDIA jumped another 2%. And the iShares, the semiconductor ETF stocks right here, added 1.3%. So good moves coming in here, especially on a short trading session to end of a winning week and month. Great to see across the board. And we're also seeing the small cap Russell 2000, IW, when we talked about that, surged 10.8%. Now, in terms of that, what you're seeing here from the Baird Private Wealth Management, as we head into December, it's really hard to kind of fade the bull market. I could agree with that. There is a ton of momentum with all the things that are going on right now. You have the president in nominee with the election in the rear view now, and a seasoned tailwind that still has room to run. Stocks have really been lifted, I think, by this expectation that the interest rates are kind of remaining on a downward curve. We've seen some uncertainty that has arisen from inflationary data, but nonetheless, a lot of the market is still expecting for those interest rates to come down on a downward curve, which raises the present value of future earnings and should boost the economy. We're also pricing in about a 66% likelihood right now that the central bank will lower rates by 25 basis points at the policy meeting next month. So in terms of that, a lot of bullishness that is still pulling into the market. And even with NVIDIA, talking about here, we've seen a little bit of a pullback with NVIDIA recently, a decent jump on the day today, but NVIDIA at 138, it was just at 150 not that long ago, and people are talking about, is NVIDIA currently on a sale right now? Are we going to see a reversal? A lot of people are starting to run their discounted free cash flow models. So you can look at all the models talking about here. They're saying, hey, NVIDIA is cheap, relatively speaking. NVIDIA is still going to be a major player in the game, of course, and in terms of an AI leader in the AI boom. So Nonetheless, I think December is still going to be well, in my own personal opinion. Palantir, I don't know what particularly is going to be happening with that, but I think $70 might be hit on the table. We could be seeing some resistance there. A lot of exciting things happening to the market. What are your predictions? Leave it down in the comments. Peace out, take care, have a wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you guys soon.